What's going on, everybody? And I hope you're enjoying your Thursday afternoon so far. This is MYG Jeffy T85 here, and I want to talk real briefly, not about the guys on the New York Mets right now that are, we expect to play very well going into the season. Guys like, Mark Canha, Starling Marte, Brandon Nimmo, and of course, Pete Alonso, Jeff McNeil, Francisco Lindor, Justin Verlander, Max Scherzer, etc. I want to talk about the young players that are really starting to make an impression here with the New York Mets. And there's a couple of players that I'm watching or have been watching in these spring training games that are really starting to make a big time impression with the New York Mets in spring training. And it's very arguable they are trying to work themselves towards a roster spot with the Major League Baseball team going forward. First off, I'm going to start out with Ronny Mauricio. This dude, who is the Dominican League MVP, 21-year-old, 6'2", shortstop / third baseman. He has been raking the baseball ever since spring training has been starting. He is right now projected to be starting in the minor leagues this year. He looks like he's pretty much ready to come up to the major leagues, but this guy has been impressive hitting the baseball. He has been absolutely terrific for the New York Mets so far in spring training, and he is really making it a difficult case for the New York Mets not to bring him up towards the beginning of the Major League season because of how he's playing right now. And there's a reason why he's one of the top-rated prospects right now of the New York Mets, and why the team thinks so highly of this kid right now. Ronny Mauricio has been absolutely tremendous. Absolutely tremendous. I can't talk about how good this kid has been. I mean, he's been unbelievable. He's smashing the ball all over the place right now. The kid is hitting dingers all over the place. He had a big-time game-winning hit just a couple of days ago. He's had at least 2 no-doubt home runs. He's smashing the ball at least 450 feet or more. And this kid right now, is really making a case to potentially start at third base. I know the New York Mets have experimented with him playing at third base, in the outfield, obviously shortstop, but right now, Ronny Mauricio, at one point, he hit 3 home runs in 4 days. Now, I know you could say, spring training, have to see more. He's going against guys that are probably not going to be on the roster as well going forward. But either way, Ronny Mauricio is really making a difficult decision for the New York Mets to hold this kid off in spring training. And he is really, right now, making a big-time case to make it to the Major League Baseball team. He had a slim chance because of the fact that Brett Baty is also having a very good spring. And he right now looks like he has a inside track at the third base position. So both Baty and Mauricio are off to very good starts, but it sounds like that Baty is the more ready-made player because he is a little bit older and he's a natural third baseman, whereas Mauricio is more of a shortstop. So it makes it feel like that Mauricio is probably going to start out in AAA for the New York Mets. And even some have thought maybe this kid could be a future trade candidate because he really doesn't have a position on the team with Baty at third base. The outfield is right now taken care of. You have another big-time prospect in Alex Ramirez, who is also looking pretty good in the minor leagues so far in spring training. So we'll have to wait and see what's going to happen. But Ronny Mauricio is definitely a player that the New York Mets have to monitor going forward. And another player that the New York Mets might actually think about bringing up to the Major League roster is Jose Butto, the relief pitcher in the Major Leagues for the New York Mets. He has also looked very impressive for the Mets so far. And it has a lot to do with the fact that the 24-year-old Venezuelan is using his cutter a lot more often. Even though his fastball is touching about 97 miles per hour, he has been using his cutter pitch at least 26% of the time, and it's really doing a nice job in terms of striking out some of these hitters over the past couple of games. He really has also been so impressive so far for the New York Mets, just because of how that cutter pitch is looking right now for Butto so far. In terms of his pitches, his cutter numbers in spring: 19 pitches, 8 swings, 4 whiffs, 3 called strikes. It seems like that that he's really found a niche and a pitch that is starting to get hitters out in the spring training, and he is really making a case for his possibility of coming up and being good rotational depth for the New York Mets going into this Major League Baseball season, which I would not mind at all because of the fact that you have an older pitching staff and this kid is starting to show something in the minor leagues. It does not hurt at all to see if this kid could potentially be an answer for the Major League Baseball team going forward. Those are just a couple of guys right now that have really been making a good impression. And then I've talked about it multiple times about Brett Baty. He's also been raking the ball right now in terms of the minor league play so far for the New York Mets. That is the best thing that you want to see in spring training, is seeing some of your young prospects that are just either on the cusp or about ready to make it to the Major League roster, and seeing these guys going out there and really showing out for this team is the best case of course of action for this baseball team. So I love seeing Mauricio having some strong at-bats and showing off his power right now. Just need to get him a good position right now on the team. He could potentially be a guy that could compete for the DH role, possibly, even though right now it looks like it's going to be Vogelback and Ruff. They're going to be the primary guys at DH, and then you got Mark Vientos, another prospect that could potentially be factor into the DH position. You also have Alex Ramirez, another young player. I think he's still a year or two away, and so he's going to make it up to the major leagues. He's only a single to double-A player right now. He's got a lot of pop as a future outfield prospect for the New York Mets. There's guys on the cusp. You also have Jet Williams, another shortstop prospect who's been showing out a little bit. Obviously, Kevin Parado, the first-round pick they got last year in the Major League Baseball draft. And then, of course, we already know about Francisco Alvarez, the highly regarded catching prospect, who's most likely going to start in AAA as Omar Narvaez and Tomas Nido will start the Major League season this year. But it's the best thing to see these young players really starting to show what they can do for this New York Mets roster going forward. And it's not just positional players. It's also some of these guys coming out of the rotation and the bullpen for the New York Mets so far, including guys like Jose Butto, that are really starting to show out and could potentially be extra players the New York Mets could add going into the 2023 Major League Baseball season. But you guys talk about it in the comment section. What you guys think about these young prospects like Jose Butto, Brett Baty, Ronny Mauricio, Alex Ramirez, and some of the other young prospects for the New York Mets really starting to show out in spring training and could potentially be future pieces the New York Mets look to add in terms of the 2023 Major League roster. Not at the beginning of the season necessarily, but guys that you can add on later on in the baseball season as players you call up from the AAA minor leagues, or even some that are really performing well. You can even call them up from AA and see how they look. So you guys let me know in the comment section what you think about this. Please hit that like button if you haven't already, and give a sub to NYG Jeffy T85 for more breaking news updates and chatter surrounding your New York Mets. And of course, always turn on that bell for notifications of the next video or short that will be dropping on the channel surrounding your New York Mets. So I hope everybody enjoys the rest of your Thursday. Thank you very much as always. Take it easy and let's go New York Mets. All you gotta do is you gotta believe in those boys from Queens.